Spartans, welcome back to another chess video. In today's video, I beat somebody who was twice my ELO level. Sit back, relax, and watch as the magic unfolds before you and be in awe of my amazing gameplay, because it won't happen very often. I appreciate you guys watching. Hold the line until next time. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Alright, so I start with my favorite opening with white. It's the London. London is d4 followed by bishop to f4. And if you're black, for recommendation, if you want to stop somebody from playing the London, you get maybe out of your preparation, out of your comfort zone, but you quickly play here. If he takes, you attack this pawn by bringing this knight out. White, therefore, is going to be forced to do something, taking a knight out. You develop here. And if white takes this pawn or takes this this knight and goes here, you have now really switched positions, and now you are playing almost as white, because now you're developing this piece here. Let's see. There you go here. Now you're developing this piece here, and now you're just ahead. You have a good solid pawn structure in the middle here. Your knight is developed, and your bishop is developed as well. But my opponent, he didn't do that. If we go back, he allows me to continue developing into the standard London system. Big thing, when they move their knight out to c6, you want to go ahead and you want to pin, which I do. He goes ahead and makes me take his knight, which is also not bad. Taking the knight is a not very bad situation here, because you also damage that pawn structure. Continue to develop my knights, and at this point I realize that, I don't want this pawn to take. I believe Gotham Chess said there is some sort of line where I don't have to move this. I can trap his rook. I don't know exactly how to do that yet, but I do the natural move here, which is just move that pawn forward. He continues to try to develop in the center. I castle short side, because I realize if I try to castle long side, I have this rook just barreling down on me, right down the b file, and I don't want that. So I castle. He continues to develop. I take, because I realize I don't want to try to damage this pawn structure at all, which according to the engine was the top engine move at that point, so good on me. He takes, he solidifies this center here with a very decent and very intimidating pawn structure, it could be like. But if you realize, he hasn't developed really any of these pieces outside of the first row here. He's kind of just used his pawns to move pieces, while I still have moved my pawns, but they're in a more they're together. All I really have to do is just move this piece right here, and there's no gaps in my defense here. I have this knight along with him having his knight out, and that's going to play it forward as I continue to develop. I create this nice little 4 period here. I realize now I'm fine. The plan was if he takes, I take. I open up my b file here so I can move my knight here or here, but it goes to goes exactly how I want it to do. And at this point, this is where things start to get a little weird. That was, according to the engine, a very bad move, because it goes from us being even to me being up 1 piece or 1 point on the eval bar. Why is that so crazy? Because now I can move my queen out to a4 and really just pin this pawn to put to the king here, and he has to do something that he doesn't want to do, something that makes him a little uncomfortable, to try to circumvent that. But that's not what I do, because I'm a 900/1000 player, and I don't see that far ahead, and I can't see the top engine moves all the time. But I just do something very natural to me. I realize I want my pawns and my knight to protect all these center squares. I have a very dominant center position here. I know he does too, but I also have a little bit better pawn structure with these going here. Moving along, he continues to try to push, which really he shouldn't. Really, he shouldn't do that. He continues to give me more of an advantage on the on the eval bar, because now he's really just messed himself up from if he decides to tuck his king in anyway. This king's really in the center. He's not protected by anything. And by him moving that pawn doesn't really allow for king safety whatsoever. I bring my rook over to B1. Slight inaccuracy. It goes down from 1.4 to 1. I think it's settling right now at about 1.2, but I am fine with trading off rooks at this point because I feel in my soul I have a better position than him, so I want to go ahead and use that to my advantage. He does not take the bait. Instead, he blocks. And at this point, I want to crack open the center here. I have this nice solid pawn structure here with a connect 4, and I can afford to get rid of one of these pawns to try to crack through. He obliges, and now our queens are staring at each other. My eval is still saying I'm about 1 point on the 1.1, 1.2 ahead of him. So far, we're making pretty accurate moves. We are doing a pretty good job so far. He takes the queen. I take the queen as well, so I want to have both of my rooks on these open files here, really take control of these open files. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where the game goes out of hand for our antagonist here, Mr. Adam Martin, Mr. 1939 himself. And I asked him later why he did it, and he said he just forgot, which it happens. But sometimes all you need is a little blunder and a little miracle for you to be able to beat somebody way above your ELO rank. My man goes rook to d8. Now, rook to d8 blunders many things, but it blunders the game away. It goes from 1.1, maybe 0.9 to 6.5, 7.5 on the eval bar. So as you know, this is just a hanging bishop, so I could take here, put him in check, he takes, and then I take with my rook, which is exactly what happens. I put him in check, I take his bishop, and now he takes my rook, or he goes to attack my rook rather. And this is where you'll see me fall back down to the 1000 level. What I should have done is I should have taken this rook and planted it right here, forking his pieces here. He cannot protect two pawns at once. And then I have a pawn on the A file that I can just push all the way through, red carpet all the way down. Rather, I go rook back to B1. I'm so far ahead, it doesn't really matter. It's not the most accurate move. King goes to try to protect both of these pawns as much as possible. I put my knight out here. I think I'm gonna try to get through here, put him in check with this pawn protecting this king. I want to kind of, or excuse me, this pawn protecting this knight. I want to kind of have an outpost, which he allows me to do, but instead I bring the rook up because I realize, oh, I could have taken these pawns here. Homie decides to throw the game away again, because another good rule of thumb, if you are down in material, you want as many pieces on the board as possible to try to create counterattacks. On the flip side of that, if you are up in material, which I am, I'm up by 3 pieces of material, I am more than happy to trade pieces right here, because I realize my king is very safe. I have 2 knights against 1 knight. I have pawns that are more connected here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, the pawns are about even, but I have 2 knights. King can come very quickly through here. He's kind of have to work his way around. So I go ahead. I take. He takes. I start moving my knight here, and this is where the beginning of the end for our antagonist. He moves that pawn forward, allowing me to check. He tries to attack my knight. I go back in the same position. He moves his knight forward. I take another pawn, and now it's just converting. At this point, it's just conversion. Pushing pawns, he takes. I open up my king. Really no big deal at all, because there's no big, strong, major pieces like queens and rooks that could affect me. Now it's just conversion. He throws his knight away. I think he's tilted at this point. So now it's 2 knights versus a king and some pawns. I'm taking, and it's this conversion. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the last major portion of this game. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of the end for our antagonist. He goes and tries to attack my knight. At this point, I still want to push this pawn here. So I push this pawn one more time because I realize if he takes my knight, I promote to a queen. And if he tries to take my pawn, he can't because it's protected by the knight. So it's a double-edged sword he's fallen into. And I want to bring this pawn into the fray. But this is the last major piece of, not brilliancy I did, but just being aware of the situation. I realized once he goes into that corner, if I push this pawn over, it's a draw. Because this pawn can't move. He can't move here because it's under attack. He can't move here because this pawn would be here. So both of his escape squares, all three of his escape squares are covered by a piece that would put him in check. So you don't want to put that pawn there, otherwise he would be in a stalemate and I would not be making this video. So I realized I gotta push the king, I have to free up this pawn here, which I do. I've got him nice and trapped. He can't really go anywhere without having that pawn promote to a queen and ending the game immediately. So we just pushing pawns, putting him in check. I find like, hey sir, you can take that pawn for free. After that, I've got a red carpet for this pawn. I'm getting 2 queens. No big deal to me at all. Mate in 2 is on the board here, but you know what they say, if there's mate in 2, you always gotta try to find mate in 3. This mate would be moving this piece right, wait, what is it? Yeah, moving this queen right here. I don't see it, but instead I cut him off and we do the old-fashioned ladder checkmate. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a 900 rated player beat a 1939 rated player. But I promised that there would be a plot twist at the end of this. And the plot twist is that shortly after this game, our antagonist was banned for a fair play violation. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, whether he was cheating during this game, I do not know. No one will ever know. The world may never know. He might have been boosting himself. He may have been doing something else. But a few stats from this game. I played this game with a 90.3% accuracy. For a game that lasted 63 moves, this is by far one of my greatest games I've ever played. I played this game. Chess.com has me rated as a 1950 in this game and my opponent as a 1350. This is what happens when you play the London and your opponent allows you to play the London. It's a very non-complicated position, pretty easy to defend, not too hard to make some attacks, and you kind of allow your opponent to come to you. But I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, hold the line. Peace.